Welcome everyone to the JUARA webinars. We're just going to give it a second as people come in and our people are rolling through. This is really exciting. This is also live streaming on the JUARA Skincare Facebook page as well as Adam's. So, hey, how are you doing, Adam? How are you feeling tonight?
Good, all good. This is wonderful to be here. I loved watching your previous webinars here, and I think we're waiting for a couple of other people here.
We're waiting for a couple of others. So, but you know what? We have a lot of stuff to cover, so we could just, kick off too. And then, shall we? Alrighty. So, welcome everyone. For those of you who are new, welcome. And those of you who've come back, you are watching the JUARA Wellness webinar. Today we've got a really special guest, dear friend Adam Gyorgy. He is an amazing concert pianist, which you'll get to experience and hear tonight. And we're going to be talking about harnessing creativity and staying inspired through challenging times. This 2020 is, I think, very not what we expected, but with any times of hardship, there's also times of opportunity. And in order for us to be open and awake to them and be creative, our minds have to be open. So this is a perfect segue as to why it's great for JUARA, because we believe that wellness is not just about a skin deep. Beauty is not just about skin deep, but it's about the whole mind and the body. And this is a perfect time to be talking about the whole mind. A little bit about us. For those of you who don't know, we are JUARA Skincare. We are a skincare, a beauty and wellness line inspired by the Indonesian Jamu tradition. And that's where I'm from. It's a 2,000-year-old natural health tradition. And we use natural ingredients and superfoods like turmeric and tamarind and kombucha to nourish your body and health, but also the mind, because we believe that you have to have a good, enjoyable experience while you are taking care of yourself. Also, we believe in holistic wellness and community, the social connections that foster listening, inclusivity, and celebration of a diversity, just like our country. We're such a diverse group of people, 17,000 islands, fourth most populous country in the world, and we all embrace each other. So, and of course, a belief in mindful rituals, specifically being inspired and adding meaning to your daily routine, is what is absolutely important to us. A little bit about these webinars. We want to connect to the community, and that's why we're here for you. We're committed to growing together. So at the end of the hour, I hope you're feeling much more lively and awake, and just more inspired and light than before you joined. We offer great content like Adam, I'm so excited you're on. And ultimately, it's a platform for presenters. So we are opening it to those who have something they want to share, because this is about sharing good vibes, sharing positive information, and sharing ways we can collectively grow together and where we can collaborate. How these webinars work, it's interactive. We're here for you. We feed in questions. So if there's questions and if there's any Q&A, come in and actually just ask, and I'll bring them up live. And of course, there's the contact information of how you follow Adam at the end. So let's take a deep breath and start. And first, let us enter the hall. This is Adam. I love this picture. In Carnegie Hall. And it's full. So Adam, welcome. Before we even get in further, just want to say thank you for being here. Well, thank you for being here, first of all. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Meta. Thank you as well. I also want to thank you because in the past weeks during the pandemic and the quarantine, we had to stay in, and your webinars were a great opportunity for us to always learn something. And as your goal today is to leave our guests being uplifted and leave with some takeaways, I certainly had them in the past few weeks, and I had a wonderful time joining the webinar.
Well, thank you. Well, speaking of uplifting, one good way of hearing from Adam is to hear Adam. So I thought that we would start by experiencing this lovely introduction.
This was such a long time ago.
Oh gosh. I love that. And I love the energy that you convey in performances. I because I've seen it so many times. And it's just amazing. So thank you. So everyone, now that we're here, hopefully you're a little bit grounded and a little more inspired and feeling a little bit light. Let's check in with all of you right now. So let's start. Let's check in. How is your energy for creativity today? Where is everyone now? So you can see we always do this fun check-in. Are you guys, it's like a scale of 1 to 5. Is everyone feeling like they're totally in flow, or you're there but something's stuck, or you still got stuff to do and you're still held back because we are in transition, or still coping, or done? Where is everyone at? So let's give it a couple more seconds as people are checking in. Yeah, it is. How are you feeling, Adam, these days with all the transition? Are you feeling like it's you're creative?
I feel great. The most important thing, I think, this may be a good way to start this today. The most important thing is that creativity. You ask me how I feel, and a big part of my existence is being creative and being talented, and try to be creative and try to be talented. That it understand that it comes and goes. It's sometimes you feel talented, sometimes we feel not so talented. That's about right, That's how life is, and then I think conversation we're going to spiral back into this over and over again during this next hour.
Well, let's see where everyone's if you're feeling talented or not today. Most of you are actually, it's a fun split. Some of you are actually feeling super in the flow. That's pretty awesome. And some of you are feeling less talented. No, like stuff is in the way. Totally understandable. I have to say I'm probably somewhere same, feeling super in the flow sometimes and super not in the flow at all. So, yep. And then, so Adam, how are you feeling? Is your flow right now?
My flow is great. I've been out in Central Park today, and I was very lucky. I sat on my bike and I wanted to take a lap or two. Then I stayed out there. I did 4, 5, and 6, and I stayed out for 7 laps. So I cycled about 70 kilometers. So my energy is I'm on a very, a very high energy. So I feel great today.
That's awesome. Well, then let's talk about the last couple of months. Things have been kind of interesting. I mean, needless to say, 2020 is probably the most unpredictable year. If we had said everything was going to happen this year that did last year, we'd go, you're crazy. When in the last few months, so tell me, over just when COVID started and when things were shifting, what did you do? Like, did you feel challenged or closed up? And what is it that you did to help stay open and stay positive and stay creative?
I certainly did feel challenged, as all of us did. And I think we all have our principles, how we work and how we live and how we operate in our life and in our relationships and our businesses. And as an artist, we also have our principles. And I think the most important thing was maybe to not even to reinvent the principles, but to revisit those principles and just rewrite them again, and just emphasize them a little bit, and see what are the main principles we use for our life and our work, and if they have to be altered or modified, and we do it and we adopt it to the new situation. But really, for me, one of the most important principles in my life, and being partly successful, relatively successful, is that being proactive, for example, is my number one principle. It is so important once the circumstances change and you feel like you're closed in. For example, we're closed in our apartments, we're closed in our homes, and we can't go out, especially as a performing artist, a traveling artist who travels around the world for so many weeks every year. It is a massive change, and we didn't know how long it's going to last. We didn't know if we ever going to perform again. We didn't know if we will be able to teach a lesson to our students on one-on-one. And piano education is a one-on-one education in a close proximity. I stand next to the piano, and the student is sitting right there. So there were a lot of question marks, and I think the biggest and most important principle was, for me, is to stay proactive and act in the circle of your influence. What is the circle of your influence? I define the circle of your influence I'm very visual, so I see it as a territory around me, and I have things there what I can do in order to achieve my goals. And there are things which are out of the circle of my influence, which I can't affect. I can't do anything about them. So during the pandemic and the quarantine, I think the most important thing for me, at least, was to really see what I can affect, what I can influence, and what I cannot. I tried to focus on the things what I could influence, and I try not to focus too much on the things which I couldn't.
So what would be some of those things that you felt like you could do every day and that you enjoyed doing?
Very important to be practical and build a structure in your day. And I think as an artist, performing artists particularly, we work on decades on a particular color on the piano. We work for decades on an idea, a story to tell on our instruments, and then we're performing artists. We go on stage and the whole thing is just gone at the end of the concert if it isn't recorded. So it's a very small and very few tangible things in the life of a performing artist. And I think this is why one of my other principles is to build structure in most of the things I do. Let it be a practice session. Don't just practice. We all know that 10,000 hours it takes 10,000 hours to take somewhere in something if you're talented, but really the quality of your practice, build up a structure of your practice, and don't just practice 3-4 hours a day. Have a very strong regiment on routines on what you practice and how you practice. And when you disconnect from the world, from outside, every structure seems to be a little bit less stable, a little bit less there's a little bit less spine in everything what we look at. Everything is shaking and changing. So in that situation, I think structure in during the day is so important. And you asked me what I do as structure. I introduced 2 exercises a day into my life, which is quite interesting, because how do you get there? You don't just start there. I try to do 3-4 exercises a week. Then obviously, I woke up in the morning. I said I'm going to do it in the morning, and I never did it in the morning because I'm going to do it in the evening. And in the evening, there was another excuse. I'm going to do it the next morning. But at the moment I said I have to do 2 exercises a day, then I was no excuse. I have to wake up, go out to the park, do an exercise, progress with my day, do everything I have to do, and do another exercise in the evening. Small things, but really they take you where you need to go during the pandemic or after the pandemic or before, any time in your life.
Was the exercising, is that to stay physically healthy? How is that connected to your mind and as an artist, kind of the physical fitness aspect of it?
You see, I'm a big this is a wellness webinar, so it's great to talk about this, because I really believe in a very strong connection between your mind and your body and your thoughts and your actions. Your actions create your habits, your character, your attitude, and then your success. You know, it all starts here. But it works the other way around as well. And I think for me, the most important thing as well is to keep my mind organized and in order, and also to keep my body as fit as I can. So interestingly, the two things just coexist so closely. Maybe because I'm a performing artist, and maybe because I actually use my body when I perform, and my mind similarly. But it is such a beautiful journey to be able to exercise and to have a well-maintained spirit at the same time. And with the meditation, you have a much healthier body as well.
Mm-hmm. So during these times you're also maintaining, are there things that in your mind that you're actually exploring because you have time to create, explore, and if you can get yourself in a good mental space?
Oh, entirely. You see, we spiraled back a little bit to the first question you had about circle of influence, and how you have to act in your circle of influence, and then that circle of influence expands. And this is just so important to be proactive. For example, you know, I have a decision on how much I practice during the day. I have a decision on what I eat. I as an artist, I can make a decision on programming a concert. I can make a decision to be ready to play anytime. I can't really influence who is going to book me as a presenter, so I tend not to worry about that. So I have to go as far as I can and to spread my music as much as I can, and then the rest I think is going to come in by itself, pretty much.
So I have a personal question. This is putting you on the spot. Your concert at Carnegie Hall was amazing this year, but we were all a little bit nervous because we didn't know. I didn't know. Honestly, there was a moment I didn't know if I should show up or we should show, because we don't know who's sick, was not. Everything was in the air. It turned out beautifully. It was amazing. I am so glad it happened, and I'm so glad it happened when it did, because if it happened a week after, it may have actually not happened at all, because I think that's how close we were to the whole stay at home. Now, from the days and the weeks coming up to it, how are ticket sales, and how was it affected, and how did you handle the?
You know, I love this question because you said it's a personal question, but at the same time, it's something I'm really happy to talk about. As an artist, you need to feel from certain distance from the concert 3 months before, like 2 months before. I usually feel like this. A month before, I usually feel like this. You can, again, what can you influence? You can influence your best form. You can build a nice repertoire. You can build a story to communicate on the concert. You can work on promoting the event and having and these crazy times. For example, we couldn't influence the ticket. You can't, if you don't know how many people will buy the tickets. And we were very lucky because we had a wonderful house, but we were nervous as well, gearing up to the concert, because it was right at the beginning of the lockdowns here in New York, and we know that people picked up the tickets, they bought the tickets, but will they show up? And then, it was all a mix of emotions in our head. The entire, producer team, and me as an artist, I was happy to be in this wonderful team of producers. And then, what I could affect was to come up to the concert and be at my best confidence. So for the people who show up, they get the best version of Adam, and they will be happy to get the best version of me. So gearing up to the concert, it was very important that I kept my mind on what I could affect, and the things I couldn't affect, such as who will show up, who will buy the tickets, I completely ignored that. And I remember clearly before I walked on stage, there was this huge, Carnegie Hall, it's 3,000 people in there. It's so exciting every single time you play. There's this big door when you enter. It's probably one of the biggest doors I've ever seen in my life. And you wait to get on stage, and you're with the technicians, and you see the camera and the screens. You see the people inside already kind of getting excited. So I'm in there, and I took a couple of deep breaths, and I was so ready to go on stage. So I managed to be the best version of myself, whatever it was that night, but it made me very, very happy.
Wow. That's actually a really good point that you make, because so much our energy is taken into focusing on the things that we can't control, but we want to control, because we're also, I think it's natural human nature that we get into this space of fear in a way. And then fear is this incredible power that just sort of locks our mind and keeps us frozen in where we are. I have to say, as an entrepreneur, I sell skincare products. We were fortunate enough that a lot of our distribution was online, but that doesn't mean that, we don't know when the floor is going to drop out on you. And I just even remember, for me, taking inventory of everything. I travel also every 2 months of the year to Indonesia. So I have this global, very sort of jet set lifestyle with offices in a couple of places, part of the world. And it is, what do I do? So I did realize that it was important to take inventory of the things that I did each day that I may have ritualized and put a practice, and they didn't even realize. Like, I always talk about my pour over coffee that I make in the morning. That's the thing that I can control how good my coffee is in the morning. For all of you coffee drinkers, you will understand that is an immense amount of control of joy in the day. So that's what I did, and that's what we did. And we realized we can't control our sales, but we can control the vibes, and the positive vibes. Our first thing is, what can we give out and be generous to people? And I wanted to ask you about that too, but I'm just curious for all of you who are in the audience, what, as we kind of listen to the things that we have to be proactive about, or can be proactive about, when things are actually shifting, let me put up a quick poll. What structures or rituals do you have that helps you in your life or gives you energy? And this is multiple choice. So there's a lot of categories that we have in life. So we'll give just, a couple seconds or 30 seconds for people to fill in. These are I just put in things in our life aspects of our life. Are you guys, yeah, I'm curious to see if people have exercise, meditation, wellness. Every time I look at this list, I realize there's always a place where I can tweak or alter my perspective. So it actually gives me more energy. All right, people are thinking. You can see the numbers coming up. All right, we'll close it down in 3, 2, 1. Share the results. So it looks like we're a healthy group. It's nice to see that there's so many different areas in our lives that we can actually tweak when the big pictures shift. There's a lot of small levers that we can recognize and we can pull to keep ourselves in that head above water sort of space. So thank you. I always love to hear where people are at in the audience. I was talking about one of the things we can control is giving good vibes back to people. That's something that we can do. Generosity, something in our control. Tell me a little bit about your journey to your Sunday concert sessions, and how they came to be.
I would love to talk more about this, and I may just connect quickly to what you said about how fear can drive us to different destinations we don't aim to go. Fear sometimes is as a performing artist, it's almost, if you don't pay attention, it's constantly there. You're learning a new repertoire. Is it a good fit? You're afraid of the piece, and many of the teachers finally say, you like the piece, but the piece doesn't like you. This is a decision to make at the very early stage of picking up a piece. Then you practice. Is it going to turn? Is it a good fit for me? Can I tell my story? I go on stage. A lot of fears. Fears. You have to handle the fear, and the worst part of fear, and that applies to all of us, I think, and it will be a good takeaway at the end of this wellness webinar, is that we start to be afraid of the fear. and we start to be afraid of that very particular fear which approaches us in certain situations. And that's you know, that is the first thing we need to handle as a performing artist. But you know, if an investment banker, you know, making decisions at the right time, or I could name any other you know, professions where you develop fears, and those fears drive you and drive your decisions. Often they drive you in situations where you're far away from the moment where certain things can go wrong. But because you're still so far, you're already afraid of the fear, and then you need to develop, you need to control that particular fear.
So would you say that fear is really the enemy of creativity, or the handbrakes? It's so fun. So funny you're talking in the beginning how some of us are talented versus not talented. And so often we think like, well, I'm not creative because it's almost like the opposite of it. The enemy of creativity is just not being creative. But it sounds like it's actually fear, because then, you know, you're locked down, and that's truly like getting rid of fear. Anyone is creative.
So basically, a fear is an incredible, powerful handbrake, which blocks us to be creative, which blocks us to be happy, and we'll talk about it later, what really happy means for an artist or any of us as human beings. But really, you know, that handbrake is often just the fear itself, that we're afraid of the fear. So as a performing artist, you need to really see that fear is approaching. You know, if you have a little bit of routine in performance, some parts of the pieces are more difficult. You can't just spiral about those parts when there is still beautiful music before or after. So you see, that was something I wanted to add to the one thing you mentioned before, and I'm happy to talk about the Sunday performances. And also, I will be very honest and genuine about them, because that's just the only way to do this. We're here, all of us. You know, the Sunday performances were, a couple of the artists did that. You know, we did a live broadcast from my home to all of our Facebook followers and fans around the world. Every Sunday morning we broadcast maybe 30-40 minutes of music, and every week it was different. I think we did it during the most critical times of the pandemic, when everybody really stayed home, and we were really scared about, are we going to be able to go back to perform, and what is it, the new normal? You know, what is coming? So those performances aimed to bring something to the people who stayed at home, and I think we succeeded with that. And yes, we were. I was just, you know, myself pulling things together and trying to. You know, I had so much fear. What if the broadcast goes wrong? You know, what if this live stream is not going to work? What if one of the cameras, you know, just fall on me? You know, there's so many things which could have gone wrong, and they didn't. And the Sunday performances, we started to trust them, and we started to look forward to them without that fear of things going wrong. And I think it was a beautiful tradition during the lockdown.
So did you communicate? I'm just curious. That's actually a question. What did you observe? Did you connect or talk to other performing artists, and what was their mood? What was the general mood at the time?
Very interesting, because I have communicated with other performing artists who were maybe deciding to do this as well, and for some reasons they didn't, or just about wanting to do this when the lockdown was easing out and people were going out already. So I think, again, being proactive and seeing that this is the time to do this. This is the time when this helps people who stayed at home and who were craving for classical music and craving for a little bit of live music, and that's why we did that. But a lot of artists actually joined this little momentum, and they came online, and they made us very happy with their performances.
Oh, great. Well, so it looks like people were thinking about doing all sorts of different things. I mean, they were actually, it's quite amazing. You don't think about it, but it's just having this free concert. And that's the other thing too. It was all, you know, because it's live, it's free. Did you think at some moment that the normal was do you think that the norm is going to come back, or what do you foresee? I'm just curious.
I think the normal is going to come back. Yes.
So we'll see you around the world. We'll see you touring.
I think you will see me touring. And I think I'm very positive about it because I'm positive generally about anything else too. But I really see that, you know, the lockdown was so hard for so many things. I've just seen as somebody posted on social media today, a man standing at the street and holding a sign, you know, be hopeful, half of 2020 is already gone. So that was the kind of thing when they didn't really like what happened in the first 6 months of this year. And that's one way. Of course, there were terrible things, but again, what do we focus on? And I think there was a lot of inefficiency as well, which has been, you know, rethought and handled in a way that it is the life maybe after this is going to be even maybe better in many ways.
Yeah, well, hopefully, I think definitely there's a lot, the opening up of virtual connections. I mean, even having this conversation, like, I don't even think it occurred to me, you know, that it would be normal just to have, you know, amazing topics, amazing people, great conversations, and just sort of virtually just happening, and it's a norm. So I hope we take that connectivity with us. Tell me, you know, one thing that I want to talk about the Castle Academy Foundation, the Adam Gyorgy Foundation. One of the coolest things, I will say it's like super cool, is that you are not just an amazingly talented performing artist, full stop. There's a part that when I met you, there's this whole give back generosity. And I learned that you had this foundation and actually I met you in Indonesia. That's how it all happened. You had this connection to Indonesia. I think you were even hanging around there longer than I was. Basically, teaching kids from all over music in your academy in Hungary and Indonesia. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and what drove you to do that, and what you see in the talent in these kids?
This story is a very personal story, and I'm happy to tell you all because I was touring in Indonesia probably 15 years ago. I was touring every year, and one of the years I was asked to give a master class, and I, you know, of course, you know, kids come one after another. It was one of my first trips to Indonesia, actually, if I remember well. And this young little girl walks in, and she was probably 12, 13 years old, and she gives me the sheet music of one of the most complicated Liszt etude, the Waldesrauschen, and it starts with a beautiful color in the right hand. It's just an incredibly beautiful piece, and technically also very hard and very demanding. And this young little girl just sits at the piano and starts playing, and I, you know, I listened to the piece. I almost had to cover my eyes with the sheet music because my tears started to come out. I was so touched by her performance, and when, you know, of course, I gave her a session, she was very responsive. She was a great student as well. It made sense to come and help her. She was a great young artist. She didn't just play well, but she was adaptive to change, which is a great component of good music. Great artists, one of the most important component. So, you know, I met her, I left Indonesia, and I spoke to my friends in New York and all over the world that, you know, we need to start something. There's this insane talent in Indonesia, and this young little girl, I just couldn't get it off my mind how could she play so beautifully, and how responsive she was to change. That's again the most important thing with a student. You know, can she develop? We decided to start the Adam Gyorgy Castle Academy back in my hometown, which is an artistic nest for talents like herself. Her name is Stephanie Ongewinneto. After, you know, 13, 15 years now, she just graduated from London, from the Royal College. She did come back 6 or 7 times after 2009, 10, 11, 12. The following years, she had a wonderful time in Hungary, and I really believe she took away a lot of things from the teachers and the community from the Castle Academy. But most importantly, it was a privilege for me to be a part of something which I may have created, but is much greater than I am. And the people, the students who come in and the supporters who gathered around the foundation and the community at the Castle Academy, they together created what it is today. It is, I must say, again, because I think I play the least role in it still, it's them who created that, is one of the most desired classical music summer program in Europe now.
Wow. And what is it that you offer the kids in education besides, besides classes, like the other things that you offer to help them develop and grow their mind and imagination and emotions that go into the pieces?
I think a very important aspect of the Castle Academy is that you don't just give piano lessons. We teach the students piano lessons, yes, and I think we bring in wonderful teachers from the Liszt Academy. We bring in great, Dr. Stephen Spooner came many times, Dr. Jim Giles from Northwestern University. We had excellent international professors coming in. But the big power of the Castle Academy and the foundation is to create a community around these kids and to support them during the year as well. Many of them, reached out to us and said, "Hey, Mr. Gyorgy, we plan to go to this competition. Please, could you please support us?" The foundation provided travel reimbursement for them. So we come in on many ways. Going back to the program, it is important that we give piano lessons, but the activities around the piano lessons represent as much importance in the education of those kids. The most respected gypsy band from Hungary comes in to perform to the kids improvisation, so the kids can see how Liszt composed Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2. He was inspired by those incredible gypsy musicians in Hungary, and that is such an important thing, because many of the kids, they never left, for example, Indonesia. They spent their entire life there. Now they travel to Europe, and now they meet the authentic gypsy musicians to show them how to do improvisations. We have a river cruise at night, so the kids can see the architecture of the two sides of the river Danube, and they can see where these compositions were composed. They can get the real environment of classical music and how it should be played. They have a folk dance night, and they can bring music into motion, so it greatly affects their musical abilities. We do have a sport night which teaches them team spirit, and there are many other things and aspects of the Castle Academy, like lectures on stage fright and how to prepare for competitions and concerts. I'm such I feel so privileged to be a part of something that is greater than I am.
And then what do you see, and how long is the program again? Like the kids, they keep coming back.
It is a 10 days program every summer, and we bring, sometimes we offer more weeks during the summer, because we have the applications go probably 10 times more than we can accommodate. So the Castle Academy is expanding gradually, and we try to host as many students as we can.
Can you see, because now I am very curious, and this is very pointed. Can you tell when kids come, like who has grown? Is there a correlation between personality, character, and mindset, and just growth, kind of evolution over time? Like who's limited, who's not? Like what is it about some that are than others?
I learned throughout the past 12 years of the history of the Castle Academy that everybody has such an incredible potential. You need to plant the seed to the right soil. You need to water the plants. You need to watch some of the students a little more. You need to be, maybe give a little more instructions to some of the students. You maybe need to guide some students another way. There's so much potential in every little kid I met. It's just so incredible. And we usually measure the growth and development, not on an absolute scale, but on a relative scale. So we are very happy if someone takes, a young little girl walks in and a little guy walks in, and, he comes like this at the very beginning, and he walks to the piano, he runs around, sometimes like we're talking about 4, 5, 6-year-old little kids. And then at the closing diploma, he walks out really nicely, sits down, put his hands on the closing recital, he puts his hands on the keyboard, and he's a very elegant and mature performer to his age. Yet the more advanced students from the Royal Academy, from National University of Singapore, from Juilliard, from the top Beijing Central Conservatory, they are participating the biggest piano competition finals today. They also come to see us, and they obviously, their level of development starts from a different level and arrives to a different level. And I think this was makes it all beautiful.
Do you see anything when you take a look at adults like us, you know, like me, like our friends or people we know or people who are watching? Do you have any, I guess, suggestions, advice, or things that you've noticed into adults like us, you know, who are kind of holding ourselves back and what's not, and what would you tell us if we wanted to excel in our creative endeavors?
I think be open to new things. Be open to new things. Don't be afraid. We kept going back to fears. Talking about the Castle Academy, we have this incredible community around the Castle Academy. The supporters, the donors, they come in, and I see the transformation in their life as well. Many of them are classical music lovers, many of them aren't. You know, they come there, maybe the first time they are exposed to anything like this, to see the education between, you know, a master and student, and they observe the transformation what we can make in 1 hour, and they immediately become to be hooked into discovering new things about themselves. And I often see many, you know, supporters or parents or people who are non-musicians coming to the academy and being completely transformed at the end of 10 days, just because they're open. They're open for new things. They're open for being inspired, and they're open for receiving new waves of inspiration.
That is true. You're right. It's not just the kids, it's the everyone around and who joins. And Michael, yes, everyone should go to the Castle Academy. It is amazing. And it is very holistic. I have to say, sort of had to lead up to that question, because I actually went, I had no idea what to expect, to be honest. When I came, I just happened to be like, hey, Budapest, how's it going? And came to the academy, and I have to say it was, there was an energy. I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was definitely a palpable energy. And that energy, I guess, now that you talk about it, it was a combination of it was hopefulness, it was dreams, and I noticed the lack of fear. I didn't think of it that way. And you know, as responsible adults, there's this thing called failure and not doing it well enough, or creating something new, but it's not original, so it's probably not going to be good. So why bother starting? Like all these noises in our head. And you were talking one point about, you had a great quote. I have to say it: you either win or you learn. Just like,
and I'm sure I was not the first one to say it, but I did say that, and I think it's very important that I like concerts when I go off stage, and I immediately can point out 2-3 things what I could do the next time much better. And it's very interesting. If I finish a concert when I feel, oh, this was great, so what's next? Like, how do I improve it? What do I do with this repertoire? How do I for this reason, I love recording all my recitals, and I it's a cool experience. You look back the way you walked on stage. It's so terrible. But maybe not so terrible. Maybe you start enjoying looking at your flaws and looking at your varied fields of developments and how you can be better. And if you can make it as a natural part of your process, then you win or you learn. And if you can develop a spirit where learning is actually so much more important than, winning is a great thing, but if you can take home something from what you do, let it be a project or a conversation or a concert in our case, then you had a great day. And if there is nothing you could take away from something that you would do better, it's not a healthy state, I must say.
So yes, I think that I love that. Sucking is fun.
I don't know about that, but
no, but yeah, no, that it is right. That I love that approach because really it is kind of a binary situation. You're either you win and you're like, yes, or you learn. And the next time Yes, it's the same thing. It's like an upward positive spiral. Um, and that's also, you had a couple of really awesome quotes, and in terms of attitudinal, the other one was, whether you win or you lose, you're right. that, that was,
The other one is kind of interesting. I say, if you think you are ahead of something very big, and uh, it is highly 50-50, the outcome. And whether you think you're going to win or you think you're going to lose, you're right. And and I'll let it sink in a little bit to everyone, because I think that emphasizes the importance of getting ready in your mind, and that emphasizes the importance to really think positively and get ready for success. Imagine that perfect race in your mind. Have the visual plan of the perfect race. You know, if you play tennis, have those hits ready. See the game. You know, see how you're going to hit in that winner point. If you play a concert, see how that scale is going to fold out and that color is going to be transform the audience. See, if you're not able to see the transformation of your audience before the concert, it's very likely not going to happen. If you're able to if you're able to create the energy when you practice at home, and you practice, and you're able to see that this is going to happen on stage, and this is how I'm going to feel, because that's the story I'm telling with the piece, and you feel that the audience is with you, then it is going to happen.
yeah. Well, it is definitely the spiritual journey of learning, and of pushing boundaries. Sounds like happiness and growth really comes from pushing all those boundaries.
It really does. The balance for me, happiness is a very interesting and very simple balance of always pushing our boundaries and always wanting to be better in what we're doing, and accepting that we fail. You see, those two things, I also let this sink in a little bit, because if you don't push your boundaries, if you don't want to be better every single day, let's say, I was out today at Central Park, I could have stopped at 3-4 laps, I stayed out for 7. If you don't have that, if you don't have that motivation, not inspiration, motivation to push your boundaries and you be better in what you're doing. But we're human beings, and sometimes your finger just slides down from that key. Sometimes, some conversations don't exactly go in the way you want them to go. Sometimes the outcome of certain things you plan go slightly differently, and that's also part of life. And accepting those two things, I think that is really happiness.
Yeah. Well, speaking of happiness and creativity, how's everyone doing? We have does anybody have any last questions before we I want to share another lovely piece by Adam, talk about the culmination of awesome is such a light word. It's awesome. No, but it's a beautiful piece. But any questions, any thoughts, or enough to simmer on? All right. Well, I'd like to leave you all as we sort of come down from this. We're gonna share a piece, Adam's Day in New York. I love that piece. As you enjoyed, maybe think through, reflect upon how we're gonna approach tomorrow. Kind of let what what Adam was talking about sink in. So here we go.
Please go to nta.info for schedules, information, and service alternatives. We apologize for any inconvenience.
Thank you. Wow. This is take a moment. So Adam, I'd love to hear you say a few words about that video, about that project.
You know, it was amazing to see Grand Central Terminal empty, and we thought it's never going to be empty. We had to wait 7 years. Now it was empty for a very long time. It's just, you know, seeing this recording and maybe connecting this recording to our thoughts today. Musicians, we often think that we make a recording and we think, oh my God, this is terrible. You know, we don't even want to hear, don't want to see this video, don't want to hear it, and it's just a month later, 2 months later, we say, oh, you know, well, there's some value in it. You know, 6 months later, we go, oh, this is a very nice recording. It was this is a great recording. It's a good, nice video. And then years later, you know, it's a joke between musicians. We say, oh my God, we could play like this. You know, that is so important for us to take distance from things and take distance from situations, from decisions, from certain situations which stresses us, which we don't see sometimes the forest because of the trees. You know, it is very important that we take distance from what we do, and we can make much better decisions if we take distance. The pandemic for me was the quarantine times were very important to me because I was forced to take distance from many things, which helped me to make hopefully better decisions for my future, and hopefully they helped me to build a better plan for the future. Spiraling this thought back to the beginning of this conversation, please everybody be proactive, because a good plan today, talking about plans, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow.
It's true. Good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. What tomorrow? What's going on? So definitely a good plan today is, even a halfway good plan today is great. So.
It's, you know, we would love to, we're thinking about making a new video. So looking at this video was a perfect example. We closed down Grand Central Terminal for 8 hours, I think it was. I don't remember clearly how it was, but there are certain scenes when there is nobody in there. So we had just the piano and the camera crew, and there was some parts when the audience was around. We actually announced this as a public concert, so people did show up and commuters joined as well. It was an amazing night there, and you know, many things could have gone place that way, but we got rid of all our fears and just did it, and just put the cameras around, and there was a little bit of action running at Grand Central Terminal at the beginning. You know, we recorded it about 200 times. I was so tired when we actually got to the performance, and there's a couple of background stories. You know, some of the very famous musicians. There was an accordion player, a harmonica player, who stopped there, and there's another video out there on the internet. He just stopped and he was just like, hey buddy, I'm just going to join you, I want to join you to play. He came there, so we improvised a few songs together. So that night was so special for so many reasons, and I'm very happy that this video is still out there on the internet, going around, and people are being happy watching it, and being happy connected to piano music. One of the other reason of this video was to tell a story, a genuine personal story about what New York means to me, and why I am so happy to be here and finding myself in the city, but being a Hungarian, coming from Budapest, and respecting and loving my country and my roots. And I think this video just represents that so well. I was very happy to produce this video.
Thank you, Adam, for your time, your words, your inspiration, your suggestions, because, hey, you know, clearly it worked. But for just being an overall amazing and generous soul. So thank you so much. If you'd like to follow Adam, that is his information. If you want to follow us, that is all our information. That is pretty much it. That's all we have for tonight. Thank you so much. All right, everyone, have a good night. Be healthy, be well, be safe, and happy weekend. Bye.